you're not familiar with them, they're the people who build the pools for the Olympics, not just Paris, but years previous to that. And they're also the package going to build the pools for Los Angeles 4 years from now. So thank you guys for being here. They don't live in New York. They travel in to meet just about anyone that Michael and I wanted to meet with. I want to thank Pratt University and Pratt Institute. We'll hear from Nata a little later, and we want to thank her for her efforts. I want to thank Cap 7. They're a manufacturer of swimming supplies. One of my former athletes and an Olympian, Wolf Weigo, and Brad Schumacher run that company, and they've been very, very good in terms of getting us equipment for swimming and water. I mentioned U.S. Water Polo, new CEO there. We're looking to really work with that organization and some of their board of trustees in terms of maybe loosening up some purse strings, directing us to people who might be able to help us in fulfilling our roles. And Citizens Bank, it's very helpful to them. Michael?
No, and Citizens Bank gave us a grant, so we appreciate it.
And St. Francis gave us this space for free. So do walk through the campus and see, maybe you can advise someone in love. Maybe this is an opportunity for them. You'd like to keep this place alive. Yeah, Paulina on the line.
I think I can make this happen. I'm gonna try.
So our first keynote speaker, him making here physically, her name is Polana, and she is with Black People Will Swim. She's doing her presentation via Zoom. Yeah, she is. Good morning. We have to unmute you.
All right. Hey, everyone. Now, before I get started, I definitely want to ask everyone, and you guys can let me know in the chat or just really think about what is the theme for today's Aquatic Symposium. I know we're all here, but I just wanted to make sure I knew. Does everybody know the theme for today's Aquatic Symposium? Shaping the future of water safety and access. So what does that exactly mean? Ensuring that every person, regardless of shape, gender, race, ethnicity, and any other racial and religious identifying question that we have to answer on the job application, has access to water safety, right? If you haven't heard, drownings have gone up according to the CDC report as of May 2024, due to drownings from 2020 to 2022 each year. So that means that is 500 more people compared to 2019. When I think about that number, it is really heartbreaking to hear that. What is more heartbreaking is that me, as a Black woman, Black people are at higher risk of drowning than any other demographic. And it doesn't have to be this way, right? And there are a ton of organizations that have been created to make sure that we are making swimming equitable, accessible, affordable, and most importantly, fun. Now, before I go on, let me introduce myself. My name is Paulana Lamounier, and I am the founder of Black People Will Swim. We are a mission-based organization created to encourage and empower Black and Brown people to conquer their fears and learn how to swim. Since we've started in 2019 to date, we have taught over 2,400 students this life-saving skill called swimming. Now, today, I hope that we're able to put our heads together, that we're opening our ears a little bit more to hear the community that needs swim lessons the most, and most importantly, create a comprehensive strategy on ways we can end the lifeguard and swim instructor shortage that is taking place in aquatics, as well as putting an end to drowning in the New York City and Long Island area. I hope that today we are able to inspire, encourage, and revive the world of swimming and breathe a new life into it. At times, I'm gonna tell you right now, guys, there are times where this can be a thankless job, but we know that the work we do is truly invaluable. Let's make it our mission today to work together even more and put our heads together and save more lives than ever before. As a Haitian American woman, I have to leave you guys with a quote. In the Haitian culture, we have a saying that says, "Mais en pile, chay palou," which means a lot of hands makes the load lighter. I know that today we can certainly make the load lighter if we have a lot more hands on deck.
As many of us have the biggest challenges getting into pools and operating our programs. And you experienced a situation like that this summer. York had a renovation. So talk about how you had to pivot because you had clients, you had people that were relying on you for the kind of lessons and support that your program is known for.
Yeah, so to paint the full picture for those who are not aware, so we currently host classes we started hosting our classes at York College in Jamaica, Queens. And then luckily enough, we've also expanded our program to Westbury High School out here in Long Island. In the midst of us launching and announcing, after we've announced our program and set registration live, York College came and told us that their location is under renovation, which means that the pool had to be closed. There were no lockers available for use. So that meant that we had to refund close to about $50,000 to $60,000 after going live for registration. As you can imagine, that definitely can impact someone as a small business, especially with summer being our biggest, busiest time of year. And so basically how we had to maneuver this was through transparency. Let our community know that one, we've hit a snafu that was unbeknown to us, and really just letting them know like, hey, although it's not your problem, we want to make sure that we had a plan in place first to let our community know what transpired. That meant that sending emails, text messages, and also sending a video where our community is fully aware. And then also create a contingency plan. Luckily for us, we already had Westbury High School in motion. So, and it's about 20 minutes away from your college. So a good number of our students were able to transfer over to our Westbury location. But those who are not able to transfer, we gave them the option of getting a credit or receiving a refund, which I would say about 80% of students, members of our program, asked for a refund, rightfully so. And so that's really how we did it. We had to, come up with a contingency plan, make sure that the plan was easy for everyone to execute, right? Something that was seamless and where we didn't put the burden on customers. And number two, be transparent. Our community understands the need and necessity of our program, and they also are aware of how hard it is to secure pools. Pools are expensive. They either have programming of their own, or it's a bit of it's just not in use, right? Pool maintenance is also really expensive. So they are completely aware and understand. And I think that our community still rallies behind us and they know the importance. And a lot of new members, since they've witnessed our program, they're like, okay, we're onto something here. Let's continue to support them despite the hardships that they've gone through, because we don't know how we can support. I mean, we know how we can support them, and we don't know where they can be next year with just our support. I hope that answered your question. I was a bit long-winded.
Did, yes. Okay. So thank you, Paulana.
Any other questions for Paulana?
My name is Natalie Degante. I'm from New York City Parks and Recreation. I work in the recreation department in public programs, and I work in the Office of Programming and Strategic Management.
My name is Erin Vega. I'm one of the chiefs of recreation and parks, and I'm currently working very closely with swim programming with our aquatics division, Commissioner Chase, on just making sure that we get programming out. And we're trying to expand. So you're going to hear a little bit about some of the things that we've done this year. But
just want to give you a little bit of background info on myself. I was a Division I swimmer for Long Island University. While I was in Long Island University, I was taking a class to teach kids with autism how to swim. And that's how I became involved with New York City Parks. We had a partnership with New York City Parks at that time. And they were like, you know what? We like the way you teach. Why don't you come work for us? So that's how I got started with New York City Parks. Some of the programming that we have now that we can offer for this year, we offer programming at 6 outdoor pools for Learn to Swim and 5 outdoor pools for Senior Splash. For Learn to Swim, we offer TOTS programming and programming for Learn to Swim for kids between the ages of 6 and 17 years old. Our senior slash also involves water exercise classes. For last year, we served just over 3,500 participants in our indoor and outdoor program. With the addition of senior splash this year and transfer of programming from Liberty Pool to Astoria Pool, we're expecting to increase in numbers. So we also do some programming at Learn to Swim and water exercise at 6 indoor locations, 3 in Manhattan. For the fall and winter, fiscal year 24, we served almost 16,000 participants. And we're on track for the projections for this year, FY25. Yes. This is last year. Definitely, there's an increase because of COVID. We had to stop most of our programming. So there's definitely an increase. Some of the programs that we do offer in the indoor season are Adaptive Swim, Learn to Swim, Swim for Life, Swim Team, Swim Improvement Program, Adult and Senior Water Exercise, Adult and Senior Water Ballet, Aqua Zumba, and the Aquatics Career Prep that we're currently in partnership with the NYC. And for Swim for Life, we began Swim for Life in 2005. We geared towards teaching kids, second graders, how to swim. And the program follows a 10-week curriculum and once a day, once per week, and receive physical education. And we're currently offering programs in 7 indoor pools and 3 DOE sites. Last year, we served a little over 6,600 participants in this program.
And that one I actually know. The year prior, off the top of my head, we had about 4,000 participants. So with the addition of DOE, and then we had Flushing reopen, that really did help boost those numbers. So we're on track to continue moving forward with those for this fiscal. So we're definitely excited about that and getting these participants into the pool and swimming. So I pulled the presentation up here so that I can follow along, but these papers are way too big. So I'm going to move over and Natalie will change the slides for me. So we noticed that I want to say it was 2 years ago when we were really trying to start rebuilding the lifeguards. Commissioner Iris Rodriguez Rosa, Aquatics and Public Programs Division, she said, hey, can you guys help out in trying to get some more people prepared to take the swim test? Because to get into our lifeguard training program, you have to take an exam. So we said, of course, our aquatics division jumped up and we started at one location where we added the swimming. You can go to the next slide so we can talk about people register. It is a 1-day program. If you want it to be a 1-day program, that you sign up each time that you want to come in. You come in, they go through stroke assessment, they have time trials, then our team gives participants feedback. They let them know, you're great, you're on track, you're ready to go take the exam. Or they'll say, you're not ready at all, please join the Learn to Swim class. Here's our website, this is when registration is available. Or they'll say, you're almost there, come back next week. Please write this paperwork with you. If you can, get into the pool throughout this week, practice, and then come back and we'll work one-on-one with you again. So this year, I want to say about 35 participants from this program became New York City lifeguards. And you guys will hear from Bonnie later. So that's a great partnership within the division where we've got public programs, recreation is giving the space for the pool so that we can add this program. Then we've got our lifeguard division and we're communicating consistently. We started at just Constance Baker Mavi. Last year, we added Flushing Meadows Corona Park Aquatic Center as well. So now we've got 2 locations. So the year prior, I want to say the final count for our lifeguards was about 15. Now adding another site, we're at 35. So we're seeing that this is helpful. And that if we continue, we should be able to help get more people ready to take these exams. We did one come out the first year and we've got some swim instruction like close by, and then they're broken up into different lanes according to what they're being tested on and what their abilities. And so they'll advance or they'll just work on things. And this was something, and it was great that the commission came to us and asked for it because now we've seen that this is helpful. Aquatics Career Prep Program, this is our second summer doing it, and we just wrapped a week and a half ago. But Aquatics Career Prep is a program where we work with SYEP. So we have SYEP come in. They're getting paid to learn how to swim. and to learn how to run a rec center. Have them at Flushing Meadows, Corona Park Aquatic Center. They come in, they get swimming 2 hours a day, and then they're doing 2 hours of customer service. They're doing about 1 hour of maintenance, but they're learning a little bit about recreation and aquatics, right? They're young. We want to push them into aquatics, but we also want to let them know there are other positions available, like parks, if that tends to not be the way they want to go. We have 2 tiers in this program. So with Aquatics Career Path, we have the aquatics trainees. Those are the kids I just told you about. And then we also do info sessions. And the info sessions we offer cover everything. They cover lifeguarding. It covers aquatic specialist positions. It covers recreation, management, different roles in the recreation division. We have our training director come in and he talks about everything else, parks, pools, and beaches, what you could do, from the person that keeps the chlorine, organizes the pool when you open, to the officers that patrol the beach and the pool. So we go over all of the positions that are available in and around the water for those info sessions. We offered 3 this year and 3 last year. And so we were excited to have a good group. This time we had about 170 participants come on for those 3 sessions. And we're looking forward to continuing those and talking to DYCD about maybe offering something before our season starts, because they also have Work, Learn, and Grow. Last year we did host youth during Work, Learn, and Grow throughout our season, but those youth end after lifeguard qualifiers start. So those youth weren't able to take those tests, become lifeguards, but we did have 2 of them stay on with us with SYE. So even though they didn't have the opportunity to take that exam, they stayed with us. They were in our SYEP program for the summer. And if they continue to practice, then they should be prepared to either take the exam or apply for one of our aquatic specialist positions or our rec specialist positions on the right side. Thank you guys. This was our group from this year. We had like a small culminating event. We had them come together, printed certificates, gave them a little swag and told them thank you. If you want back, let us know. We surveyed them this year, and 32 out of the 35 that completed the program are interested in some form of answer. However, we have Chief Williams here from Parks who is going to talk about it.
This is a good question. How many children went through the program all spring, during the school year? How many children were that? And how do you bring those children in? Public schools or on the street? How do you put them?
I can't tell you the exact number, but I can get back to the group. We have how much smaller. What we do is we work with DYCD and we put out a posting. So it's a job posting. So they have to have pre-existing swim skills. They have to come in, take an exam that we kind of follow. But even if they have the interest, we keep them in the program anyway, because we can always move over to the next season instead of saying, oh, right? So we want to keep them in. We want them, if they have an interest, to gain the skills and continue with us. So our first cohort, we had 25 in the summer, and then the fall, I would say, was about 15. And then this year we had 38 that started and 35 that came.
Hi, Howard. First of all, thank you guys for the service to do Parks Department and the District Officer. However, I noticed you said indoor outdoor pool day. The programs are great. But if you don't live, let's say, in St. John's Park, with you have a pool, such as that in Bed-Stuy, like Brownsville, Eastville, Boston Heights, how do those communities, same services offered to the various parks you already mentioned, when there's no place in those communities that those services can benefit because they're not? So how do you do the crossover? How do you do the switchover? How do you offer those services to
Actually, one of our pools that is open the most hours, it's actually one of our Saturday night light sites.
Mm-hmm.
So we do open in the evening on Saturdays so that we can have teens specifically come into the pool, and that is only their time. They also have after school classes 2 days a week. And then they have a lot of water exercise classes for adults. And on Saturdays, our pool Saturday in the morning is dedicated to our swim team, learn to swim programs for adults, tots, and children.
Okay, that's in that community of Bed-Stuy.
Yes.
What happens if I live in Crown Heights, which is only a couple of blocks away? How do we participate in the service that you're offering today?
So all of our Learn to Swim programs, because of the high demand for programming, is free to anybody that is 24 and under. And we do run lotteries for those programs. So anybody, Crown Heights can register for the program. Anybody in that community, anybody outside of the community too could apply, but we run a lottery. And then based on that lottery is how we fill out that.
I didn't, I've never heard that program before. So how do we get that message out to the other communities so they can participate?
We start these conversations and then we just continue them. We'll get you flyers. I can get you posters. If there are people that you think are key people that we should be targeting, we'll absolutely share that information because we want it to be out there. We want everybody to know.
I mean, because the pools are great. Same don't know if they're being utilized or not, but we have this year, the last couple of months, swim. And one is because these kinds of services I'm finding are not offered to all communities, or if they're in one community, that's where the time seems to operate from and they don't reach out on. How can we expand what you do to other communities?
We usually promote our flyers. We usually share with council members. Now that we have this amazing group, you guys might all start getting flyers, Mike, if that's okay. But we definitely want to get the word out. When we're doing registration is generally before the season. So our fall season will be in October. Registration will likely be up and running. And then winter starts in January. Registration will start in November. And then the spring season will start in April. So in March, we'll start.
Question.
I just want to know how many New York City public schools are you in right now? 3? Are you going to be working with the schools to get more kids in?
Okay. So yeah, we have it now. How many we usually get at least 100 program restrictions for life is this way. We're at Curtis and Staten locations in Staten Island. We are at in the Bronx because our only indoor pool, and then we're also at Far Rockaway in Queens because we don't have no out there in Far Rockaway.
Mike, I'm going to answer, I think, your question maybe a little differently. Parks does an amazing job with the resources that they have. The Lions do an amazing job with the resources that they have. Understand that we are a city of almost 9 million people, and institutions can't do this alone. That's why amongst the group here are smaller organizations, not-for-profits that are also doing this work. We have for-profit organizations that are also doing this work. Hopefully, through meetings such as this, we will build that beautiful quilt, which will enable us to serve everyone as they should be served in New York City, a city that is surrounded and shaped by water. Right? The officials, and forgive me for forgetting, has put a legislation forward which would write all of our offerings, all of our collective aquatic offerings, so that somebody like a directory could look up who's doing what in my community or close by, so that we would know where to go and ask the questions that you are asking. But I'm not sure, maybe somebody is on the line that could speak to that. I think it is Shekar, Chris Nunn, who is.
You will have, we're required to be here.
So we'll come back to that, but perfect. Thank you.
Gregory Clark for Shakar's office will be here later to our knowledge on that. I do have a question. Flushing Meadow Corona Park, beautiful diamond in the system, but it's going to go down. It's going to go down for a while because of the roof. Well, you contingency plans for that? Okay, very good. Everyone else have?
Bonnie, you want to step in?
Thank you. So I think the number that you shared in your slide was close to 16,000 for fiscal year 24. What's the upper limit that parks can support potentially in terms of participants?
Exactly where we would be financing founding. Yeah, and so whatever we each have, that we're going to do whatever we can. So the 16,000 was in the indoor season. Overall, it was almost 20,000 that we served just last fiscal. And so we're hoping that right now, with the number of DOE sites we're in, we're on track to serve.
Okay, thank you so much. Thank you. From Parks, Bonnie is going to address or answer our questions about the lifeguard significant over the past few years. Buddies.
Just showing up.
Thank you so much. Thank you, Mike. I'm not as tech savvy as my colleagues, so just going to get up, tell you all what's going on, and answer any questions. So, my name is Bonnie Williams. I've been with Parks in public service for over 30 years. My background is aquatics, swam in high school, swam competitively. I started as with Parks as an aquatic instructor for the Learn to Swim program. Was with them for many years. Also worked Disney Action Park, if anyone remembers that. That was a really fun, exciting job. Became a lifeguard instructor. I served as the aquatic directors in Staten Island for a few years, and then ultimately came back to Parks in different roles: public programming, operation, emergency response. And now I have the privilege of being the chief of special programs for the first deputy commissioner for Parks. This is a new role that never existed. And my major responsibility right now is overseeing the lifeguard program, which has never happened in the history of New York City Parks. So recently in May, we went to impasse with the union, and I'm sure most of you know the strength of the lifeguard union with New York City Parks. So this is something that has never happened. It's historic. So we had 6 points that we went to them on. We won 4.5. The first being that there's middle management, which is me and my team. So the lifeguards fall directly under us. The second is the vision requirement, changing that for wading pools and mini pools, which is really going to help with recruitment. Also the testing. So we now have a shallow water test. So instead of it being timed, it's 300 yards. If they pass that, they can go to any pools that are under 5 feet, which really help with recruitment. This year, we had 189 additional lifeguards that passed just for that certification, which was huge. And then the other one is just a labor issue, which I'm not going to bore you with that. This year, currently, we're at 930 lifeguards, which is a 9.4% increase from last season, which doesn't seem significant, but it is in the current climate. We're all in the aquatics field. We know the challenges with recruitment, with kids wanting to be lifeguards. Look, pool time is golden. So it's not easy to get into pool time, get those classes running. I'm also a lifeguard instructor for the American Red Cross and have been for years. So, I'm very familiar with those challenges, but we're happy and excited with the 9.4% increase. And our goal is not only recruitment, but retention and changing the current climate in the lifeguard division, working to make things better, more transparent, and have those open line of communications. Last season, I should say, we hosted 67 qualifying exams over the 5 boroughs. We're looking to increase them this season. We will start with qualifiers end of November, beginning of December, and we're going to look to do a big kickoff, make this like the start of the season, and have a big campaign, have all community groups involved, electeds involved, get the word out. One of the other major things that happened last year, especially for Staten Island and South Brooklyn, we partnered with DOE at Fort Hamilton High School. And for the first time ever, we held a lifeguard training class in another borough, which was amazing. We had over 80 participants and 56 came out of that class, which really helped support our lifeguards in Staten Island and Brooklyn. And with that, people want to get on the bandwagon. So we have, Curtis High School in Staten Island that wants to get involved. Out in Queens, we work with Kevin Moran from DOE, who is wonderful, great partner. We're working with the Chancellor for CUNYs. So our goal is to increase our lifeguard instructors for the program and offer a training class, not just qualifiers, in every borough. Because let's face it, a 16-year-old commuting to Chelsea and Manhattan, it's not an easy task. I mean, they're more savvy than me when it comes to it, looking at the apps, but it's not easy. So we're looking to make it as convenient as possible for everybody in the outer boroughs. With that, a few of the other changes that we have going on, a big partnership at our beaches with NYSM, with FDNY and NYPD. After last year's shark incident in the Rockaways, would you like me? Oh, let me get my paper stuff. So we partnered with our sister agencies, and this season we have drone coverage at all our beaches. So not only is it looking for marine life, I feel like I'm dancing. Is this good? Cha-cha's live? Okay. Not only is it for marine life, but these drones are also equipped with flotation devices. So especially after hours, they've been very pivotal in rescues that have occurred, letting our PEP division know, or even lifeguards that are still stationed there. One of the other things that we did in response to concerns from the public and the elected officials, and we're one of the only beaches. Long Island does it on a case-by-case basis, but during the heat waves, we instituted at our beaches an emergency response. So we had lifeguards on duty, not on chairs, but able to respond in the event of people not listening, which we know that happens at our beaches. And it was a very successful program. We had 2 saves during the last heat wave at Rockaways by lifeguards at like 7 p.m. So they were on tape. And, other changes, we're just looking to really make everything transparent, rebuild the lifeguard program, make it more accessible, less intimidating. And even for our current lifeguards, they're very excited about the changes that are happening. And, we're just looking to increase our lifeguards. We did open every pool and every beach this summer, which is impressive. Commissioner Donovan, Commissioner Rodriguez, are so supportive of, and City Hall, everything that's going on. And, my unit is a brand new unit. We kind of hit the ground running. We all came on the end of March and we, blinked our eyes and beaches were open. So I mean, those are the points I wanted to touch on. I will open it up for any questions.
Thank you very much for your words today. And I want to do a shout out to the PEP officers because I know they get a rash of poo-poo. It's a tough job, but they pulled 2 people out of the water this weekend. So I want to, acknowledge that PEP is doing what they should be doing as well. Also, I want to suggest to your unit that you consider, as the wise consider, not just focusing on the youth, because this is going to be a problem. We need to look broader. We need to bring back people who perhaps were lifeguards in the past or older that want to be lifeguards. When we are considering that with parks, for example, there are only 12 swimming pools out of the 58 facilities that you have, the remaining being splash pads and very shallow pools. You don't need a lifeguard that has the same level of certification to watch an open water that you do for a splash pad, certainly, and even a very shallow water pool. So if you can consider opening up the ranks to older people who may have an interest and be well able to serve in those capacities, we will again continue to bring down the gap or close gap that you have.
Okay. I just want to respond to that. So thank you, Sean. And yes, to the PEP officers, and we have acknowledged them. We've had 4 saves by PEP officers at our different beaches after hours. Remarkable. They went in uniform, pulled them out. And, if they weren't there, we don't know what could happen. So again, people following the rules is critical. To your point, yes, Sean, we agree. We're targeting master swim teams, retirees. We're reaching out to sanitation, DOE, NYPD, NYPD, and putting the word out to them. There was also a great article in the New York Times last summer. We have 4 lifeguards that are in their late 70s to early 80s that are master swimmers that work for us. And they did a whole article on them and they're like, I'm retired. What am I going to do? Sit home? This is the greatest job in the world. And they love coming to work. And now that we do have the shallow water certification, I think that's going to really go a long way with that program. Very good point. Thank you.
Thank you very much for this observation. And I would like to at the same time, I city of lifeguards is not unique, and I'm traveling around the world a lot, and almost every country surrounded by water is facing the same problems. In connection with that, I have a question. What is your idea of bringing in import lifeguards from our countries, like young generation students, giving attractions of New York City as a city, only temporary work? It can be only temporary solution, but any temporary solution that can save even one life can be really helpful. I know we all understand completely the life of, so just what is your position?
That's a really good point. And in the 90s, we did have a program going on where we had a lot of lifeguards that came from Poland, different areas. A lot of the challenges are housing because it's not really affordable to live in New York. So that was one of the big challenges. And I would say from the 90s, we had a lot of those lifeguards that stayed here, relocated full time. When COVID hit, they went back to their countries and haven't been back. So we lost a lot of those numbers. It's something that we can definitely open the discussions to again. But I think just the financial implications for those people, it becomes a bit challenging. But we can look into that again. Okay.
That was a really good question. You know me as a water polo coach. My team did really well one year. We met Mayor Bloomberg, and I said, I have a solution to your lifeguard problem. And it was kind of simple. What we were trying to do is the student athletes that I currently had in the States, from Australia, from Russia, from Bulgaria, from Serbia, Croatia, wanted to stay. But if they wanted to be a lifeguard as a student, they had to go back to their home country, change their status, fly back to the States with a new work status, and after their summer was over, fly back to their home country, change their status again, and fly back. Red flags went up with a lot of the embassies. But these are things that if people are serious, they can work them out with immigration services, especially if there's a need to take care of the entire process here in New York City. You could actually do it. And those students actually have dorm rooms, or they live in accommodations that they're paying for over the summer anyway. And that would be a huge benefit. And it's just something to look into. Question on the Zoom.
Can you hear me? Yes. Bonnie, can you hear me?
This is Joe McManus.
Yes.
Hello.
Hello.
Yes, I can hear you. Hi, Joe.
Hi, how are you? Thank you for your presentation. I'm wondering if you're familiar with the United States Life Saving Association.
Yes, I am.
So the USLA has a certification program that promulgates a swim time standard for open water of 500 meters or 550 yards in 10 minutes or less. Are you familiar with that?
I am familiar with that. Speaking with my good friend Janet, we've discussed that a few times.
Okay, good. So my question is, the current swim standard for beaches for lifeguards, I believe, is 440 yards in 6 minutes and 50 seconds. Is that about right?
That's about right.
So that the swim pace per 100 yards for that swim standard is 1 minute and 30 seconds. But the USLA standard, which is a national standard, is about 1 minute and 50 seconds per 100-yard swim. That would afford your candidates an extra 20 seconds per 100 to meet the national standard. Is changing the standard to the city standard to meet the USLA standard would help recruit candidates and get them to pass the swim while still meeting the national standard. Is that something you guys would think about and entertain?
So that's a really good point. And a few of my colleagues, we have discussed this in the past. Yes, we are. One of the things we are doing is just like the American Red Cross, the YMCA's, any certified swim program or life-saving program, we are going to be doing a deep dive into the curriculum that NYC Parks has and revamping the curriculum. It's not a process that's going to happen overnight. We want to do it the right way, get a panel of people together and work on it and see it through. Because it is, I don't want to say it's outdated, but it can be, I'm not going to say that. The other thing is when it comes to changing the actual qualifying times and the recertification times, that has to be negotiated with the union. So it is on our list. We had the win this year, which was a big win and had to happen for everything else too. But it is something that is on our radar, Joe, if that answers your question.
Yes, thank you. I would like to be able to speak with you in a different setting, if that's okay. I'd like to give you a call.
Sure, Mike will provide my contact information. Mike likes
Great.
to. Okay.
Thank you so much. I appreciate it.
Any other questions? Janet?
Thank you very much. For those of you that don't know me, I'm a seasonal chief lifeguard. I'm not working this season. I commend the Parks Department finally trying to get this on the radar of change. For the longest time, the union managers of the school and the beach made decisions not based on public safety, but based on their union. And so forevermore, the lifeguards and the public were at a disservice from this. So my question, and you just answered it, was, does everything have to go through the union? And if they don't come to the table, what happens then? Do you have to do arbitration again? And would the Parks Department not do that? Because right now what you have, and as a seasonal chief lifeguard on the ocean, I love the ocean. I love the ocean and the ocean loves me. I broke up with the sun a long time ago. That will be my new t-shirt. So protective gear is a thing. But seriously speaking, the borough coordinators were created in 1978. They were super chiefs that were supposed to manage the smooth operation from summer to winter and winter to summer. Well, it never happened because they gave those positions to union people. And one of them didn't even swim. He was a DC 37 blue collar. So that in itself was a disadvantage for all the ocean chiefs. So right now, Bonnie has a tough job, and I commend her because she has ocean chiefs that are these super chiefs that were never assigned to a lifeguard station, but they're there operating in the Rockaways and really gummying up the system. So in terms of numbers, allocation, deploying, I'm hoping for gators next season, and the drones are on the beach right now. And NYPD and FDNY, they need more communication with the lifeguards on the ground so that they can get there to an emergency, because you don't have a large window of opportunity when someone begins the drowning process. So parks commit to going forward. And to me, it's not in the union contract, the swim time, but what part of the contract, and I think knowing the contract is important, what part precludes you from, say, doing a junior lifeguard program on the beach? The USLA standard has that, where you have swimmers that are swimmers, young swimmers between the ages of 10 and 14 that come an hour before the tour of duty, and they will be future ocean lifeguards. Jones Beach does a beautiful job, Long Beach, Jersey. And another thing I want to mention too is if parks and the union can't get it together, the USLA standard is in the Jersey Health Code. And I know New York State, you're going to work on the curriculum, and I would love to do that with you. But New York State acknowledged that they need to update the standards. So USLA is there, and I hope that it is utilized. And at the very least, the junior lifeguard program could come out of aquatics, and then lifeguards on the beach could take them and do the ocean for an hour. So will parks commit to arbitration? That's the question.
Okay, thank you so much, Janet. And there was a lot, and I think I'm gonna hopefully get to all of it. So there are things in the contract that are dictated by the union. Right now, not everything has to go through the union. And that's, for me and the first deputy commissioner, it goes through us and we give the directives, which is something that never happened before to this extent. So there's a lot we need to do. I mean, I have a list, and again, it's a marathon. It's not a sprint. I'm checking off things. We're prioritizing our goals and what we need to do to make other things happen. And to public programs, Erin and Natalie, the swimming program, 36 kids became lifeguards out of that program. Remarkable. And we want to expand it not only for pools but beach. It's on the list, not the top, because there's so much more work that has to be done in order to make everything else happen. What was the other?
Don't have a bona fide ocean training program.
No, and I'm going to say this. One of the great things we did this summer. So everyone knows how it works. You have a lifeguard classes. Most of them start, in the spring. Kids are coming home from college. They get certified. They're out there. They're being lifeguards. So this year, for the pools, because 72% of our lifeguards were under 18, which is a big number. We did in-service training, mandatory on overtime, not during the hour when it closes, in the mornings or in the evenings when they got off. And it was so well received. And all of these kids and senior guards we went over every drill, basically started from class 1, worked all our way through in every borough and reviewed the material. And they were so grateful for it. And we want to get that going at the beach. This summer was not the summer to do it. We had way too much going on. We had a lot of heat waves. They were on overtime. We also don't want to, exhaust our guards to the point of they can't come to work. So there's a lot, we're looking to do, Janet, and everyone in this room will probably have a voice when we sit down. We're like, we need help with this. We're looking to do this because it's a partnership with everybody that's in the aquatic field. As far as equipment, it is something we're looking into. We're going to go out to Jones Beach and take a look, out to Montauk. We do want to equip them with the vehicles for the beach to get to an emergency, to respond to an emergency as quickly as possible. We're looking into uniforms, bringing them up to date because they're a bit outdated, but UV rash guards, UV hats, things like that. There's a lot we want to do and we want to work and improve on. The utmost is getting the lifeguards out there, keeping the public safe and keeping our lifeguards safe. And then we're going to work to improve everything else.
Communications from drones.
So we actually have every day there is a meeting. Thank you for reminding me of that. At the beaches where we have drones, the lifeguards PD have work in unison. And this is something that we've worked with NYC on, with City Hall, with Commissioner Donahue's office. And actually we were out at the Rockaways yesterday, myself and one of my colleagues, to have a meeting with NYC to talk about standardizing an SOP for different scenarios regarding the beaches. We got to see a whale on the Rockaways too, which was pretty awesome. So we are working to get that SOP and working with the sister agencies. I now have an amazing relationship with the Coast Guard. We're meeting with them regularly for even our open water events, triathlons, polar plunges, anything like that. So since no one's been in this role before, these things have not happened. And we're just going to continue to, bridge the relationships and work and standardize as much as we can.
Okay, we have to move along.
Okay.
But thank you, Bonnie. This was very informative. And I'm certain that Bonnie and Janet and Joe can loop and really make some things happen. Mary, sorry that we're taking so long, but some important things were discussed here. You're up next. Mary Donahue from the YMCA Community Lifeguard Anonymous.
Good morning. It's still morning. All right. So we have people in the flood. So YMCA have the task force, because Sharon Greenberger, our CEO, is one of the members of the task force, and we were tasked as the aquatics people to get the lifeguard program going. So this is from 2022. We started offering free lifeguarding programs thanks to our generous funders in all 5 boroughs, and we have continued that through today. We are offering a lot of the programs. You can see the stats right here on them, but we offer 8-week programs that run at each of our sessions. So it's once or twice a week. There's one in each borough. We are hoping to train 50 lifeguards each session. So we have those as well as our short-term programs, which are 1 week. Again, 20 to 30 lifeguards. And yes, the pre-testing is fun. And I will hand it over to Ron to talk on all that stuff.
As we said, in 2022 officially now, had 662 registered, 561 attended. We certified 407 to date. We're making good in that. We are 280 them in 2020 and 2024. an increase of 25% in our
Just scroll to the
we have our schedule mapped out for the entire year. We do 8-week sessions, and then mentioned. Along with that, we do a couple of intense courses. We have 3 courses, and then we do a summer session in July to just compress the program there. The program started to elevate and invest in our aquatics work. Focus was first on the lifeguard training, and we wanted to make sure that we gave youth development opportunities and skills for life, because everyone knows swimming is a life skill, very important, and it gives them a lot of people, it's their first job opportunity to work with the public, work with people older than them, work in teams, because it expands on the ability for the Y to serve the community and to get people into the water. So there's something that is needed. Access to pools and swimming skills is something that everyone needs. Lifeguard community. More opportunities for swim instruction. You need lifeguards to have the pools open, to have the swim instructors there to really get everyone in the water.
Moving to the school ones. I'm moving to the school.
This year we've been working out of the Y and into high schools, colleges, and any other CPOs that have full access. We were able to get into Fort Hamilton High School this year. We did swim testing for the lifeguard program on site. And from there, we were able to get our first lifeguard course out of school. We had 8 participants. I believe there were 5 of them that got certified from that. One of them that did not pass took our summer program and got certified. So we don't lose them. We don't say you didn't pass. If you still want to put in effort, we will bring you back in and do everything we can to get you safe.
I'm going to add that, we talk about developing people into this program. We have a lot of funding from various things. We have our 2nd grade swim program where we roughly do 700 to 800 kids a year. We have 760 kids with CDC funding that we're offering lessons to. And we're also partnering with District 75, where we have 9 to 10 school groups that come in. We're trying to do 1 branch in every borough that we have right now, and we're expanding that program. So not only are we doing the able-bodied people, but we're including all the people, because as you know, children with autism have a higher risk of that. Thank you, and we'll pass it back unless there's any questions.
Thank you. Michael, do you want to take a break now, or do you want to go to
Get to the lifeguard task force.
lifeguard
Sharon,
task force?
I don't know how we're going to get.
No.
Okay. Well, Sharon.
Hi. I'll also be quick because if I'm between you and a break, I know how people are all the time. I got you. There's also food I saw, which is also distracting to me personally. But hi, so I'm Sharon Levy. I am Senior Vice President for Public Affairs at the YMCA of Greater New York. But I'm here to talk about the New York City Interagency Task Force. Sean and Swim Strong, as well as a number of other nonprofits across the city, are part of it. But also big shout out to Parks. We thank you so much for your partnership and everything that has happened over the last year and a half or so. We came together in 2023, maybe making that up, but I'm pretty sure it's true, to really find and create a collaborative space to impact the lifeguard shortage and the critical lifeguard related issues. We realized really quickly, of course, it's not just about lifeguarding. Obviously, it's about swim access to pools, making sure that both young people and adults are getting those lessons, are safe around the water, and are doing all of those things. So just some of the things we've advocated for, legislation that you might hear more about later when the elected officials and their reps show up. Hello, how are you? See you there. And also, the governor's New York Swims program, additional funding and supports for parks, and DOE, making DOE pools accessible to more nonprofits is also one of our goals. I know that is something that is really important to a lot of people in the room. And so I think we just wanted to say we're here. We want to hear from you. Lori Tamas, whose email address is also on here, helps manage the task force as a whole. We're all working together. We want to be a collaborative space. We are both Parks and DOE and DOH and Swim Strong and Rising Tide and the UJA and the YMCA and anybody else who wants to come to us. So that's my plug. And that's all I'm going to say, unless people have questions. Go.
See, intercity, how many Brooklyn people are on your task force?
It's not about people, it's about organizations. Just going to start there. of the organizations represent parts of Brooklyn. So we have a bunch of branches in Brooklyn. The UJA Federation has JCCs and those in Brooklyn. What did I say? People work in Brooklyn. So we're welcome. If you're saying you want in, Mike, come on.
The people that I would recommend. So the only thing, and I'll just give you,
Please.
you guys are doing great stuff. The reason that I want to hear, I'm so sad that we don't have more time with you, is that we just need more access, more transparency, more understanding. So when you go to a council member and that council member then puts bills, so council member Krishna and others, by the way,
Julie
here, put together some great ideas. And they sound great, you know, to use the Hamilton phrase. We just want to see it at the table.
Sure.
Right? In the room when it happens, that's the way.
In the room.
So I think, you know, and unfortunately, we don't have time because you are up against the break and everybody should get some food. But that's part of why, we need you here and Lori, but also to think how we can tap in more so that we don't get an announcement that you're doing a presentation in March with the city council, you know, all these proposals that are great, but don't take it personally.
Oh, I don't. Don't you worry. No, I appreciate that. And yeah, and we're happy to have that. So please.
Well, I have a suggestion. Something we can put on your committee so that, you know, if you get back to us specifically.
Great.
All right. Did everybody get this? Part of why it's so important that they're here, amongst many others. I understood you run a lot of parks. We actually have somebody from the state here too, and come back to them after the break. But it's essential to recognize that there is great progress being made. The flip side is that the progress needs to be made partially because we got into such a state. So, Sharon,
Appreciate it.
there, you know, big line.
We're going to take a 5-minute break. So you people on Zoom can take a 5-minute break too. Welcome back, Zoomers. We're going to start in just a minute. You guys get your food together. I thought this morning, the early morning session was pretty good. Touched a lot of subjects. I thank all the people who presented and fielded questions. I think it's really good for the group to understand other people's issues and the greater ones as well. So we have Rabbi going to come up and Raskin. Carrie, you're going to come up third, and Netta is going to come up in between the two of them. So let's try to keep it to about 5 minutes, and so we can get the Murphy guys up here. Because I really, really want you to see what they present.
Thank you, Carl, and coming back. It's always fun. So up call to try to find places for swimming. We traditionally went to St. Francis, and then when they kind of closed down, we were really struggling. And luckily, Michael connected us with LIU, so that's where we go now. And the children have a great time. And it's definitely a need in this in our communities, no matter whether it's more affluent or less. You know, real estate is expensive in Brooklyn, and it seems to be a tradition. I know Michael didn't want this to be an official thing; he doesn't want every single year. But last year I started. So the Jewish New Year is coming up. Actually, traditionally, people start to say Happy New Year in the Jewish ram's horn, the shofar, and shofar is so good. The shofar is so good. And the concept is that a ram's horn, at least this one, it's you know, one side it's very narrow, and the other side is very wide. And the idea is that it's a lesson for all of us that, especially you know, dealing with right now, is that sometimes things seem to be very narrow. In Hebrew, it's mitzvah, very constrained. And we think, you know, where is this going to go? But we keep on pushing together. We keep on, you know, uniting as a community, which we're doing so wonderfully here today. So we hope that, with God's help, and God always wants us to work harder, right? By doing that, we will solutions and opportunities and hopefully to a wonderful place. So,
Operator with our ICW group, Michael and myself, and several others, is Meta. She just joined us a short time ago and has been just inspirational.
So much so far. So just to quickly introduce myself, I am Meta Bruns, and I'm an architect and urban designer in private practice. I have previously designed, I'm a swimmer, lifelong swimmer, and I'm a designer of flow-through floating pools.
I've designed a floating pool for Pete Seeger in Beacon, New York. And so I know a lot about swimming and swimming facilities. I am also a part-time professor at Pratt Institute. And this fall, I will be conducting a class about the future of swimming in New York City. So I am just announcing this because I'd love to talk to many of you in the breaks or after about potentially coming to speak to, up to 15 students about how to expand swimming. So some of the topics that we're going to cover are swim equity, how to get more kids, more adults, more seniors to swim, right? So how to expand year-round swimming, climate-friendly swimming, meaning how can we take advantage of the heat of, let's say, a data center, cold storage center, the supermarket to heat our pools for free, okay? Looking at Olympic pools, this is a project we're all working on, and high-tech pools, and we'll be talking to the gentleman from Mertha about that. We're also very, very interested in natural filtration systems and rock pools, ocean pools. We'll have the students work on that. So there are many other topics. We will also cover, our class will cover the history, the international history and the New York City history of pools. So I really look forward to hearing your ideas, and you can come to me after this if you have any interesting ideas and you want to participate. Our class will run on Thursdays from 2 to 4:50 p.m. Just letting you know, put that into your calendars, and we have a Zoom option. Thank you so much.
Word out, we're getting the word out. At the very last minute, we were fortunate to have Carrie Epstein agree to come here in person, Jones Beach lifeguard, and he's going to talk a little bit of New York Swims, Governor Hochul's initiatives. And we're so lucky because my former athlete, Ryan Clark, is a colleague of his. Ryan couldn't make it, and Carrie stepped right up to the plate. So you're up, boss.
So much. It's good to be here. Good to hear and see so many initiatives happening across the city. And it's great to really have us all in one room instead of just reading a Facebook post or hearing it from somebody else. So I wrote a couple of things down here, so I'm just going to read it so I keep all my thoughts in line. But it is an honor to be here and participate today. For those who don't know me, my name is Carrie Epstein, and I'm here as the Long Island delegate to the New York State Lifeguard Corps. I'm excited to discuss a few items, starting with Governor Hochul's New York Swims initiative, which I'm sure most of you have heard about at this point. The New York Swims program is a groundbreaking initiative with potential to dramatically expand access to safe swimming across New York State. New York Swims is designed to address equity gaps in recreational opportunities, provide resources to communities facing extreme heat, and ensure that every New Yorker has the opportunity to learn how to swim and develop essential water safety skills. New York Swims will lead to the development of new municipal pools throughout the state, activate natural waterways, and deploy mobile pools to areas prone to extreme heat. Additionally, it will support historic investments in New York State park systems. And this comprehensive approach will also include a partnership between New York State and New York City to build a float first plus pool in the city waters, further increasing access to safe swimming environments. Moreover, New York Swims will focus on increasing the number of parks, pools, and beaches that offer swimming instruction, as well as training and recruiting new lifeguards. As we all know, and we've heard just a little while ago, swimming and drowning, still remains to be a leading cause of death for children ages 1 to 4, according to the most recent CDC statistics. Addressing this issue through expanded access and education is crucial. And that's really why the aspect of New York Swims is that the dedicated members of the New York State Lifeguard Corps will be at the forefront leading these vital swimming lessons. And for those unfamiliar with who makes up the New York State Lifeguard Corps, it comprises of about 1,200 lifeguards from all the way up from Niagara Falls, Buffalo to the Montauk Lighthouse. Learning to swim does more than enhance individual safety. It creates invaluable job opportunities. The more people we get to learn to swim, the greater we can fill the demand for trained professional lifeguards, as we all have heard in our recent presenters about the national lifeguard shortage. As a lifelong swimmer and ocean lifeguard at Jones Beach myself for 27 years, I understand the significant impact that swimming skills can have on one's life. Personally, to help address this lifeguard shortage, a colleague of mine and I took our thoughts and our pen to paper. And last year we published a book called Lifeguarding for Dummies by the Dummies Collection, people, worldwide brand. But the title isn't exactly what you think. It's not a manual to learn how to be a dummy lifeguard. It's a manual and a book that really exposes the lifeguarding profession, swimming, community, and a passion for professional water safety. However, we can't have people fill the lifeguard gap if they don't know how to swim. So it has to start there. In line with these efforts, the New York State Lifeguard Corps, together with the United States Life Saving Association, which Joe McManus had just mentioned before, is actively supporting a new effort called Lifeguards First. It's a campaign that aims to officially recognize open water lifeguards as first responders through the House Concurrent Resolution 41. This recognition would grant lifeguards the same benefits and acknowledgement as police officers, firefighters, and EMTs, which could help address the current national lifeguard shortage by highlighting the essential role lifeguards play in emergency situations. By advocating for all these changes and supporting New York Swims, we are not only addressing immediate staffing challenges, but also ensuring that those who dedicate their lives to protecting others receive the recognition and support they deserve. I thank you all for your attention and commitment, and everyone's role that you play in creating an equal and fair opportunity to create and learn all New Yorkers how to swim. And together, we could build a safer and more inclusive aquatic environment for everyone. Thank you. Any questions?
Is there an update on when they will be making?
Not water beer.
I can repeat. I said, is there, I know the deadline was extended to August 9th. So is there a timeline for when they will be making any decisions on swim grants?
I haven't heard anything particular post the deadline date. I know that they are starting Island at Jones Beach State Park. They are starting construction this October for one of the new pools that is going to be built. But I do know that they have plans all across the state, but I have not heard anything yet. Now that we have each other's contact information, as soon as we do know more, we will let everybody know. Yeah. Any other questions?
I know that New York Swims and New York City Swims, a lot of the monies is really capital monies. What about the programmatic side?
So that is a good question, and I can't really answer it because I'm not with the governor's office. We're with the New York State Lifeguard Corps, and our role within the New York State, the New York Swims program is that we are teaching the lessons. So that is a great question. Our president of the New York State Lifeguard Corps, Ryan Clark, who couldn't be here today, he's a little bit more on the inside with the programmatic stuff. So as soon as I could pass that along to him, and as soon as we get that, yeah.
Thank you for your presentation. So how does it work? The lifeguards, I know that Jones Beach already has an existing pool and they have surf lifeguards that also go to the pool and teach swimming. How does that work as far as scheduling?
So prior to the announcement with the New York Swims, which recently came out, New York State Parks was providing free swimming lessons to New Yorkers at our West Bathhouse pool location. We have two pools at Jones Beach. One has been not in service for over a decade, and that's the location, that's the East Bathhouse pool that they are starting this new construction at this October. The scheduling with the lifeguards, basically, it started off really small. A couple of lifeguards that were WSI certified were giving swim lessons in the morning. It first wasn't overtime. It was 2 hours that they were doing it. That was a part of their work day, except they were assigned to the pool. And at Jones Beach, all of our lifeguards are ocean certified lifeguards, despite us having a still water facility on Zacks Bay and the Olympic sized pool. So they basically started their day at the pool, gave the free swimming lessons, then came out to their work locations. As the program started to build and we had more and more, there's now an adult swim class and there's a class for children. So it expanded to being 2 days a week, Mondays and Tuesdays. They had to go from like 6 or 8 lifeguards to about 15 or 20 lifeguards now. And they try to keep it so it's not overtime, but if it turns into overtime, so be it. The state has been really great with allowing the lifeguards to have the flexibility to come off their field to teach the swimming lessons. And the last year or two, they've done a pretty good job at putting it out there that these free swimming lessons are existing for both the children and the adults. So they've been really good.
Questions? No. Thank you. Thank you. Thank you so much. We're now going to move on to our elected officials. Council Member Julie Mines' office, Harry Gale, gives an update on NYC public officials update. We're going to stand over here. Thank you. Thank you, Harry.
Hi, everyone. Good morning for, I think, another 10 minutes. And I hope everyone's doing ones. And as the council member gets more into this space, we're hoping to make further connections with all of you on every level. When the council member took over her office, which is the 5th District and City Council representing the Upper East Side of Manhattan and Roosevelt Island, she quickly became aware of the serious problem that we have in New York City. And it's emblematic of the statistic that I heard earlier that the leading cause of death for children 1 to 4 in America is drowning. And actually, it's the second leading cause of incidental death in children aged 5 to 12. So this is a major problem in the country, and then particularly pervasive here in New York City. In New York City in 2017, the Department of Health and Mental Hygiene reported that 1 in 4 Black and Asian students in New York City do not know how to swim. 1 in 3. And that statistic is 1 in 4 for Latino students in New York City. And this is a massive problem. We're seeing drowning deaths. And the council member thought that, serious action was needed. And so we're working on a couple of initiatives with our partners in government, including our partner, as a representative here today. So to get into these 2 initiatives, the first is the Wave Makers program. So Councilmember Julie Menon and Councilmember Shekhar Krishnan started the Wave Makers program, working with the Gray Foundation, who set aside $1.5 million to fund swim providers across New York City, providing free swim lessons to 2nd graders in New York City, which is exactly in the age range that we were discussing earlier. So right now, for the first time ever, 2,700 New York students will be getting free swim lessons from this brand new pilot program. And this is across the city. I don't believe they found a provider for Brooklyn yet, but I know that they're in the Bronx, Queens, Manhattan, and even the YMCA South Shore in Staten Island. So I believe 4 of the 5 boroughs do have providers at this time. So the program is aimed to have certain benchmarks and standards for the students to be able to achieve by the end of the program. So right now, they'll be able to tread water for over 30 seconds by the end of the program, and they'll be able to, in open water, swim over 20 yards. So we think this is great steps just for, protecting our students when they're going out swimming at the beach or in a community pool. And 2,700 students is actually quite significant, even though we're in a city of 9 million people. In 2022, New York City only taught 4,600 students how to swim. That's it, 4,600. So in this 1 year, we're increasing that by 40%. So it's really exciting. It's a pilot program. So what we're hoping is sometime in later 2025, the first year of this program will end. And what we're hoping is that this is a pilot program that could show how quickly we could set up a program like this and hopefully have programs like this across the city with way more providers, helping a lot more children. And this pilot program can actually also be used in the second initiative that I wanted to tell you guys about. If you haven't heard, there was a bill 0760 that was prime sponsored with Council Member Julie Menon and co-sponsored by colleagues like Council Member Stein. And this bill 0760 calls on the Department of Parks and Recreation to work with the Department of Education to provide all 2nd graders in New York City with free swim lessons if they and their families choose. So this bill passed actually in October or signed by the mayor in October of 2023. So this bill is now passed, and this is going to be, a massive change for the landscape of swimming instruction in New York City. Now the fight is to get funding for it. We just passed the budget this past June, and of course every dollar is so contentious these days. But this is something that's a high priority for our office, for Council Member Shekhar Krishnan's office, and this is the new fight. And then once we get the dollars, some folks might have a question of, well, how will you do this? How will you have this rollout? Well, thanks to this Wave Makers pilot program, we know how we're going to do it because we're doing it right now and we're having serious success. So that's what we've been up to. And, we're looking forward to expanding these programs, getting this bill funded and in practice, and working with partners on every level to make this citywide. Thank you.
Well, why don't we have Greg stand up? Do you mind joining? Because you guys are colleagues. You can stand up there too.
Greg is from
Harry, if you want.
Councilmember Christian's office.
Good morning, everyone. Thank you for having me. I'm Greg. I'm the Legislative and Budget Director for Councilmember Krishnan's office. He is the chair of the Committee on Parks and Recreation in the City Council. It's good to see so many. Just wanted to give a brief update on some of the things we're doing. Harry already alluded to some of them, which includes the Wave Makers program, which we're really excited. Now you can see. Hi, Zoom. We're really excited to partner with their office, the Gray Foundation, Asphalt Green, and other swim providers. We had over 100 students in Jackson Heights that are now learning how to swim, which is awesome. I see Common Point Queens as well. Hello, good to see you. And they are helping us at the garden school in Jackson to provide swim for kids, which is awesome. And we're hoping to see it expanded across the city. I do want to give a brief update on some legislation. Harry mentioned Councilmember Menon's bill last session, which is awesome to ensure that kids in second grade have the ability to swim. We also had a bill about lifeguard reporting. Obviously, the lifeguard shortage is a chronic crisis on our shores, and it's really meaning that the waters are a little unsafe for folks. And I've seen, unfortunately, tragic drownings this year because of that. So in this upcoming year on lifeguard staffing levels. But I also wanted to share some legislation that we've introduced this session that we're hoping to push forward on. One is Intro 988, which would have the Parks Department create an aquatics atlas. So they would have the locations of swimming pools, beaches, and specifically the programming that is available at those beaches, whether it's a swim program that is provided, etc. And have it on some sort of interactive map. So it's not just you have a bunch of addresses. You can see, okay, I live in Bushwick. Okay, it's a pool in Williamsburg program. My kid can go there and can learn how to swim. That's pretty cool. So we have that bill. We also have Intro 275, which would expand the pool and operating hours in our city. As we experience the effects of climate change, our summers are hotter and they're longer. And so we wanted to ensure that folks can go to pools, go to beaches, and cool off in these ever hotter summers. And so that's another one of our bill resolutions that we've also introduced. One, we worked with Nora from Schools on May 15th in New York City, established as International Water Safety, because water safety is an important issue, especially given that we are a city surrounded by water. So we want to ensure that there's public awareness, engagement on this day, and the city recognizes that water safety is integral. And then finally, we have Resolution 501, which would integrate water, which would support a state bill that would integrate water safety education for K through 12 students. So we're really hopeful that our state colleagues will help in this effort, but we have a resolution in support at the city council level, and we're trying to get more sponsors on board. Also wanted to share that we have two more bills that are in the works right now. One would representation or DYCD, where I'm working with the drafter right now to figure out some issues because there's some legal concerns that I would spare you from hearing about. But it would require safety information to students and parents throughout the city. And then finally, we want to work with the Department of Education, conduct a feasibility study for a junior lifeguard corps. I saw the presentation from the Y earlier about, giving them the certifications to become lifeguards. But we want, because DOE has many pools across our city, we want to see if there's a way we can get into those with the Department of Education and get more kids certified as a pipeline to create and help solve the lifeguard crisis that our city is facing. And it's also been great because we recently had a meeting with the Speaker's office in the council, and she has started to become more supportive and more interested in engaging on this effort. So we really see some momentum. Unfortunately, we're out of, so we want to seize that opportunity and seize the moment right now where folks are focusing on water safety, focusing on water education, and really see how the council can continue to advocate on that. So that includes the recreation committee sometime this fall, as well as in memory and to honor those who unfortunately we have lost. We're planning some sort of vigil on the Rockaways in memorial of our walk. So more to come on those two specific things. So please stay tuned, and we will have dates and be sure to share with you all. Really excited that we at the council are starting to have some momentum on this issue, both on the legislative front and from. I'll also mention a budgetary front. We did have some preliminary conversations with the speaker about funding for some of these swim programs from the council for you all as providers to provide some of these swim lessons, etc. More to come. Obviously, the mayor put forward $5 million last year in the budget, and it got taken away all of a sudden in November. So we want to ensure that our city doesn't just speak through legislation, doesn't just speak through vigils or hearings, all of that, but really puts their dollars where it matters and funds these programs. So thank you for the opportunity to present. I'm happy to answer any questions. And also, I think my email is on the agenda. So yeah.
Raised $5.3 million was appropriated. So 5.3 million, then budget crisis cut out. Let's just lay out the landscape, right? We know that the best resource for pools in the city is probably not parks as much as it is the DOE, which is why Swim for Life is so important, right? Because DOE will let parks into their pools. Unfortunately, John's not here. I don't feel like I'm ever going to get into a DOE pool during school time, which is when I would want to do my programs. Point one. Point two, that 5.3 million was going to allow parks to hire more people to run more Swim for Life programs. So what in this room, what do we need to do to let Mayor Adams, the Speaker Adams, any Adams, know that that money, A, needs to be restored, B, we have to have a bigger think, because even with that program, I think, Aaron, sorry, you were going to do an extra 10,000 students, right? Approximately. Well, we already know that there's 9 million people, and you did the numbers, I'm sure. So again, if you both want to talk about that, and I'm sorry that Council Member Brooks Powers persons, the three of you, well, the three staffs are doing fantastic stuff. So anyway, that's my question.
Yeah. To the DOE point, I think that's really important. And, we're trying to see whether the chancellor is amenable to having a meeting, council, and maybe we can you some of you guys in. Yeah. And we can talk through some of these issues, on the, whether that be a junior lifeguard corps, whether that be the nonprofit providers being able to access certification trainings, etc. So that's really important. And on the funding piece, totally hear you. As the budget fight ramps up, we would love to have you all engaged and involved, right? So when there's the preliminary budget hearing, when there's the executive budget hearings, having you all be, organized and testifying and showcasing that, hey, Mr. Mayor, please, fund these swimming programs. We at the council are trying to see the ways that we can best provide money and allocate money. But I will acknowledge that, given the dynamics of the mayor does have a lot of power in setting the parameters of what our city budget is going to look like. So we see it as, the mayor needs to, step up on this issue and ensure that this funding comes through. And so whether that be the rallies, whether that be the op-eds, we can talk through press strategy as that time comes. But there can definitely be some sort of organized effort. And the conversation should start now. I know we just passed the budget and everybody's like, all right, I'm done talking about the budget. Like, please stop. But no, now is the time to be thinking about what are we doing next year? What are we doing for subsequent years going forward?
Yeah, I agree. And then, on the advocacy side, I think being public and being loud is the most important thing when it comes to the budget season, especially with the mayor's office. So I think, having every council member going to the mayor and the speaker and saying we've been inundated with calls from swim providers, families, parents saying that, we're so worried for our kids this summer. We don't know what we're going to do. Swim providers saying that, we're getting in the way of any serious progress. Inundating your council members with phone calls, as director of constituent services, it's not my favorite day to be inundated, but it's certainly effective. I think that, having petitions, having, a change.org petition with thousands of signatures from schools, families, and providers. That could always get a nice article going. And then when we do have these rallies on the steps of City Hall before we go in and have hearings on the budget, it's so important that everyone comes and that they have their full staffs come, that they have their signs, their attire that has the marketing for their businesses, and that we see a huge coalition of swim providers from across the city saying we're actually in a crisis.
On the coalition front, right? There's already the Playfair Coalition, which I know some of you may be members of, which does more, wide water parks advocacy for the 1% campaign. So there can either be synergies with that already existing campaign, or if you all want to kind of say water safety and swim instruction is so important, we have to have our own dedicated funding stream. That's just two ways to think about it. And those are some ideas that you all can think of as, organizations, CDOs, nonprofits, and, then come up with a strategy. And we're definitely happy to attend any rallies as necessary.
But while the mayor made a huge splash, $1 billion proposal for investing in infrastructure. And how much of that is going to go into pools that will be very useful to the general public? And this is part of the challenge. Again, you're talking about the mayor's office. You're also talking about the Department of Education and the School Construction Authority. And unfortunately, there's opacity. And I want to be fair. They're big agencies. They do what they do. They're not necessarily directly responsible to the public that, in theory, they serve. So what kind of advocacy, but also should I be sending letters to the mayor to say, hey, there's a pool in Medgar Evers College, which hasn't been open for 4+ years, which was a fantastic resource for the community. So anyway,
I think definitely through advocacy, through letters to the mayor. I think obviously one of the integral council powers is oversight of governmental agencies, right? So we can ask some of these questions of various departments. The council member is not only chair of the Parks Committee, but he also sits on the Education Committee. So if we need to ask questions of the DOE, et cetera, we're happy to do that. But we're definitely, reach out directly to some of these city agencies and voice your concerns and try to get some more transparency. And then if need be, we can follow up with some of our.
Yeah, I mean, usually letters to commissioners is the best way to go. And you can CC the mayor's office, CC the council members, because also letters to commissioners lay the groundwork for then when we have, the Parks Committee hearing in, September, there's, the council members can say, I know you received this letter to the commissioner, and we're wondering what's your response to this letter. They haven't received a response yet, but you may very well not received. So that way, there's more teeth to these questions.
Thank you, gentlemen. Thank you for coming. You were incredibly informative. So if we're going to proceed. I just want to say something. So if you guys could just keep Michael in the loop, so that if something happens at City Hall and you need a delegation there, we can hopefully mobilize you. We can have a picnic on the steps of City Hall.
Okay, so there's two things.
For the weekend.
Yeah, you should do that then. If
Really
you're
important
comfortable finding it,
here,
you're good.
the next presenter, they're all important, but these are two gentlemen, John and Matthew from Merthyr Pools. They build the pools for Paris. And, what you may or may not know, they may tell you, is that they end up, all the pools in Paris don't stay in Paris. They move. Several are across the United States and other municipalities that they buy or individually buy. As an example, we were fortunate enough to take a group of city park commissioners out to Long Island. The gentleman there bought one of these pools and put it on Nassau County property right next to another Olympic pool. And I mean an Olympic pool like a 20-yard pool. I'm talking 50 meters by 25-yard pool. A real state-of-the-art circumstance. And he put a bubble over it and made it work. It's their product that makes great things happen for municipalities across the United States and across the world. So it is with great pleasure that I recommend and pay attention. There'll be a test. These guys are unbelievable.
Thank you, Carl. Thank you, Michael. So my name's Matthew Mackay. This is Sean Cleveland. Before I pass it to John, I just want to name something here because I think there's something beautiful happening here. And it's not lost on me that we're at St. Francis. St. Francis was if anyone knows, he saw the spirit, however you think about it, in all things. So I just wanted to say something quick and then I'll pass it to John. So in St. Francis's word, it says, "Praise be you, my Lord, through Sister Water, who is so useful, humble, precious, and pure." I thought those words were very appropriate, given what we're talking about. So thank you.
Thank you, Matthew. Well, when I first put this together and I sent it to Matthew, he thought it was a great presentation if we had an hour or an hour and a half. So I think we're up here for like 10 minutes. So shorten it down. We want to show you what we do, and we want to show you how we want to partner with you to increase the visibility and teach the kids how to swim and get some more lifeguards out there as well. My background is as an elite level swimmer, former coach, aquatic director, also taught in Texas in the K through 12 system, third and fourth graders how to swim. About 15,000 kids. That's the number that I've kept track of. The number of kids that had a hand in helping learn how to swim. And these are kids, they don't jump into the pool, they jump onto you. And I've got stars to prove it. So we just want to get across that we are one of you. Mertha Pools, pretty much all swimmers on the sales and marketing side and engineering side as well. So we'll just tell you a little bit about the company. For those that aren't aware of Mertha Pools, we've actually been around a long time. Started in Italy, it's Italian technology. We do a lot of pools for your new builds and renovations. We are famous for doing the Olympic Games and the pools for the Olympic trials as well. We did two 50-meter pools at Lucas Oil Stadium in Indianapolis over this summer, which was spectacular. So one of the things that I want you to take away from this is that a system like this has really changed the face of swimming, but also, at the ground level, teaching lessons, knowing that you can build a pool anywhere. Football stadium, street. We did the Diana Nyad pool in Herald Square years ago. So it's a very versatile system. And this is one of the reasons why I started working for Mertha as an aquatic director. I got frustrated with problem after problem, shutdown after shutdown. There's got to be something better out there, and there is. We're just using technology that is stainless steel with a hard bond PVC. And we've got some samples over there on the table. Go ahead and switch to the next. We'll show you a little bit about the system. It's modular. Everything is bolted together. So if you have an existing facility, all these pieces can come in through the doorway. They don't have to be craned anywhere. They are bolted together on site. And then the inside of the pool is waterproofed with the PVCs. So we're waterproofing the joints and we're waterproofing the floor, all using PVC hot heat welding as well as chemical sealing. Let's switch. So let's show you the construction. Think a giant erector set. This is for our typical new builds. Go ahead and show you this video that is from the Olympic trials. Go ahead and play that. Just a time lapse, really quick, to kind of show you how the whole thing goes together. We have a base, a channel base frame, and then we are building up with panels. We can do skimmer pools, gutter pools, whatever, and they can go together very, very quickly. We're running the plumbing. They've got surge tanks, mechanical systems. In this case, we're building the deck up around the pool that is built on that existing slab, and then we're putting the mechanical systems underneath. So you can see how this system is very versatile, and you can basically build it anywhere on the streets, top of the building. Really, sky's the limit. But this was a great event for us, but not new. We've been doing this in the U.S. Since the 2004 Olympic trials, and we actually did a pool for the 1996 Olympic Games too. So we're going back quite a ways here. World records broken at this during this event, and we did all the pools for the Paris Olympics as well. Go ahead and switch to the next. So this is just a look at the construction. You've seen the pool being built in an arena. Now you're seeing it being built in the Nassau County Aquatics Center, where they expanded, needed a 50-meter pool. This was from start to finish 3.5 months, excavating, pouring a slab, and then building system up, and then filling the pool up. It's been in operation for about 7 years now. And originally, I think this was meant to be an outdoor pool, but we're using it all year round. You can go ahead and switch to the this one right there. And you can see the cover that Carl mentioned they put over the pool to be able to use it all year round in a very cost-effective manner. So you're not spending tens of millions of dollars to erect something like this. And on the next slide, we show you some other examples of different structures that can go over a pool. This is sprung structures. They do a lot of work in Canada, so it stands up to the horrendous winters that I spent 15, I guess, of them in. And then on the right side, you see it's called an open air structure, and this is kind of a plexiglass system. Still, this is cheaper than the brick and mortar, but there are different structures that will work in a lot of different locations and can go up very quickly. The next one. So this kind of we work with Carl and Michael on kind of brainstorming how could we use this system for some existing facilities here and renovate them. So we went through this exercise of taking a pool like Red Hook, which has plenty of pool space there, splitting it into two, where you can see on the upper picture there, a new build that is covered and used all year round, and then creating a separation deck for the seasonal pool that's only open during the summer. We would do this using a combination of the freestanding system, as well as something we call Renovaction, which is becoming a huge deal in the Northeast. Switch to the next. So we'll talk a little bit about Renovaction. I'm going to hand it over to Matthew.
Thank you. So I got into this because I used to sit on your side of the room where I had my community outside of Boston wanted to build a pool. So I asked a lot of questions in the front end. How do we make it sustainable? How do we essentially build it so they don't become a burden, they don't get shut down? That led me to Murtha, which is why, so Murtha to me is a technology company. They're applying material science and engineering to create better pools out there. Where this gets to this slide, so one of my little things is I like to keep track of when I come across a pool and I mark it on the map. So this is kind of a map of the 5 boroughs of all the pools that I have noted over time. And these are pools generally that, the public has access to. So maybe schools, maybe parks, maybe something else. So the point I want to make on this is New York City has a huge asset that most other communities are, incredibly, would want. And a lot of these pools are already in the right place. You have them in the middle schools, you have them at YMCAs in the community, you have them in parks. They just need a little shine, and there's a cost-effective way of doing that. So with Murtha, the next slide. So with Murtha, essentially, we can take the same technology that John has just went over with our panel system, and I'd like to call it the bath fitters, of commercial pools, where essentially we're putting a new commercial pool inside the existing one, and it can go in at a fraction of the cost. So to me, pools in schools especially, which obviously are right where the second graders, first graders are, this is an amazing potential fit to really sort of get these pools reopened and making New York City water safe again. Also, obviously, they're applicable to the parks as well, but any other pool that's out there as well. So, and it's a pretty simple process. I was actually at a pool yesterday in school, so it should go up, a month or two, essentially during the installation. So it can happen very quickly and cost effective. So
You didn't know about this slide. I just added it in there, but big bath fitters for pools.
Yes. So, but yeah, so that without getting too deep into the technology, essentially, you're just attaching the panels directly to the concrete walls, of the existing pool. So again, the expected life of a Murtha pool, we expect it to match the life of a facility. So especially in some of the older buildings here where they expect to have 100 years of life still in them, we would expect our pool to have 100 years of life as well, with minimal maintenance and lower operating costs. So again, that's just applying sort of a stainless steel with a PVC hard bond to it, which is just a better way to build. So again, trying to get out of this cycle of building less expensive pools to build, but only last 20 to 40 years. And then after 40 years, the community is in a crisis because all the pools are shut down. We're trying to get out of that cycle. So this is one solution that we can bring to the table to really sort of bring New York City back to, the aquatic, community and rejuvenation that, I think it had, from everything.
So this is just a look at some of the pools that we've done. We've done pools that are like this one, where we marry the two systems together. We can expand the pool using a freestanding system. This pool was actually expanded, widened, a 200-foot long pool. That's what they typically build in Texas. A lot bigger than here because they have a lot more land to work with, obviously. This is one of the exciting ones that opened up last year, Kingston High School. Again, how many 6-lane, 25-yard pools have we seen? And I think one thing to note is that there are some that look at these pools and you see cracks and they have to be shut down and turned into garbage cans. And they don't. They can be saved. Most of these pools are very, very robust. That concrete is viable. We can come in and we can renovate it, and we've got something that is more sustainable, less shutdowns over the course of 25 to 30 years. Because you're not having to retile. You're not having to repaint or replaster. So we just want to end here on kind of the project process that we typically go through. Mirtha tries to be involved in all of these in coordination with the owner and the operator. So typically you'll have an architect involved. That architect will use an aquatic consultant to work on the layout of the pool or the renovation of the layout, where the mechanical systems go. How a renovation goes. Are you replacing the gutter or simply, the interior pool shell? Those are a list of just some of the aquatic consultants that we work with in this area. And then you've got your general contractor that comes in for the build. During the build, we are working with our partners, and here's a sample of Norberto Mainline and Ray Palmer Associates. We do an awful lot of work with, so we're involved from the brainstorming process all the way to the finish of construction. And one of the things that I want to note is that now you have a contact for everything in aquatics. There's a lot of things that people ask us, and it's not in our scope. We handle the pool shell, but we have so many partners that we will steer you to get your answer. Like you were asking about chemicals last week. We don't do the chemicals, but we have about 3 or 4 partners in this area that can handle that when it comes to chemicals and maintenance issues. So we are involved with owners and operators. We love to do the trade shows. One of the trade shows that's coming up in October is the NYSSBA show. That is school administrators and school board members. Keep in contact with us, and we can help get you into that show to meet some of these people and talk more about pools. We will be the only aquatics group there. When I'm there, I have a banner that says this is the most important classroom that you will build, and we strongly believe that is as important as learning how to read. And then to end with, we want to be seen as a partner in all of this. You're talking to swimming people in the brainstorming process, the design and the construction. These are just some of the groups that we've been involved with. We're forming some sponsorships to be able to give back to the community in the effort to teach the kids how to swim and cut down on all the drownings that happen in the area, because there's really it's preventable. There's no reason not to attack this. And New York City in general has so many pools, and a lot of them, unfortunately, are like those pictures that we've shown, turned into garbage cans. Let's fix them up. Let's get them in operation. We know we have enough people to manage all of the programs.
From an operational standpoint, do you bring your own filtration system or look at staffing?
That's a great question.
Do you want me to answer since I've got the microphone? So, generally, we partner with people that would make filtration systems, mechanicals. Usually what you find in these older pools is they need to be replaced. So, if it is salvageable, yes, absolutely we can. But, we're providing the pool shell.
From a non-pool person, so from a user point of view, but cost. So to build a pool, put the shovel in the ground and dig it out versus your solution. Can you just give us a rough estimate of what one costs versus another, assuming it's the same size?
That's a great question. Again, the answer is it depends, because in a lot of regions we are going to be the cheapest. Some we're going to be the same. In markets where we do end up being a little bit more expensive, where you can get concrete for a lot cheaper, usually about within 10%. But we also have a 25-year long-term warranty, waterproofing guarantee, so you're getting a lot of benefits. And the same could be said for like your filtration systems. Regenerative media is going to be better, more effective, save a lot more water than your sand filters. But generally, the cost is a little bit more upfront, but after about 2 or 3 years, you're making that money back. When it comes to renovations, if it is a substantial renovation, we are usually the cheapest option, because you're not ripping out, least expensive. So because you're not ripping out the existing shell and then rebuilding.
Thank you for that presentation. I just wanted to add something rather than a question. A stainless steel pool is by far more sustainable than a concrete pool, because concrete has no impact on the climate. Okay, so I'd like to add that to the concept.
Thank you so much.
I just want to wait till they're done so that I can.
We can move on. I think the warranty, 25 years warranty, 10 years on waterproof the pool, manage it properly, maintain it. That's
so just to piggyback on last question. So you in your slide you had the Red Hook pool as an example. So how much would like a retrofit like that cost this thing potentially?
We have put those numbers together, and the answer to that is it depends on the entire scope. What we can break down into per square foot, what do we put together just for the renovation around like
you just have to share it. Thank you so much for staying.
$30 per square foot for the renovation itself. But then if you're replacing the mechanical systems and the plumbing, that all gets added into it.
Just add something like, again, I referred to Mirth as a technology company before. So we're also the world leader in fluid dynamics. So we have a small army of scientists that study fluid dynamics and have a computational fluid dynamic model. So, and we figured out how to take a lot of the plumbing. In New York State in general, a pool above a certain size requires flooring. The pool that I showed before in Nassau County does not have flooring. At least here, none. So how we get around that is we have shown through the science that we're able to turn the water over effectively sidewalk. And what that saves a significant amount of money, because you're not digging up the floor of the pool to lay the problem with that pipe in year 20, you're not having to dig up the bottom of the pool. So really just scratching the surface of Mirth's capabilities, but there's a lot of things like that when you really dig into it, it may not be necessarily in the pool shell scope, but we're saving a lot of money at the project level.
Yeah, that's a good point, because with that inlet system, you're going to get better filtration, which I think if you're teaching lessons, you need as good a filtration as you can possibly get in getting that dirty water into the filtration of mechanical systems, right? So I think that's something that we have studied for years and years on how to do it properly without disturbing the swimmers. Can you imagine like watching the Olympics on NBC and you got green water or something? Nope, it has to be crystal clear. And so that's one of the reasons why we have studied this for so long. Any other questions? Okay, great. Turning it over to
I just have a quick question for Martha. When you do the bath fitter option,
Probably.
you're adding
because I can
depth to the pool. You're narrowing it. So a swim time in that facility is not going to be accurate. But
Okay, so
potentially.
There's many dirty little secrets in the pool industry. One of them with concrete is most pools are actually too long. So because when they're shooting the gunite or pouring the concrete, they can't be too short, because otherwise they can't pull competitions in it. So they err on the side of being too long. So when we apply our panels, we're only adding, I think it's 3/8 of an inch, to there. And if the tolerances are really tight on that, we can actually chip away the tile, the plaster, or whatever, and actually recess the rails in so the panel is flush against that wall. So as a result, like a lot of times we can make the dimensions better, by going through that rather than, so it's not something we've had to worry about.
How much it would be worth waiting for? They're fantastic. Okay, thanks, Matt, John. Nora from Plus Pools and her exciting developments.
Thank you. Hi, everyone. Thank you so much, Carl, for hosting here at St. Francis. It's a beautiful facility, really amazing. And thank you so much, Michael, for inviting us to speak today. So Plus Pool, as the slide behind me might suggest, I am the program director here at Plus Pool. We are the crazy kids who are building a pool in the East River. But most importantly, we are here to ensure that all New Yorkers have safe and free access to the water that surrounds them. Does anyone want to take a guess about how many miles of waterfront we have in New York City? Yes, over 500. Yes, that's right. We have 520 miles of waterfront in the city of New York. That's more than Boston. That's more than Miami. It's more than Chicago. We have the most waterfront of any large major U.S. city, and it's completely underutilized. In order to, if you're a fan of New York City public pool history, you might know that in the 1880s, there were hundreds of floating bathhouses that were lined along the waterfront in New York City for people to use, first for health reasons, then for recreation. They became incredibly popular, and then during the 1930s, there was this proliferation of public pools, and there hasn't been a major investment in New York City public pools since. So what we are very excited about at Plus Pool is that we actually are now on the forefront of moving forward into the future of those public pools and using new technology to find new places for people to swim, to find new technology for folks to swim. But above all, we are a nonprofit organization that believes that in order to enjoy the water, you must first be safe in the water. So our dedicated programming serves learn to swim programs, we serve water stewardship, and we serve community engagement through our programming. I was actually telling Sharon Levy that my job is kind of to find new ways for people to have fun, which is great. We'll have a lot of more programming through our pilot site, which is now on the water. But this summer, we had several different victories in terms of our swim programming. We taught 154 new swimmers in a pool downtown at Lamont Upper School. These were swimmers who had little to no swimming ability, 90% of whom were children of color, and 90% of whom were from families who made under $26,000 a year. So we're really proud of the fact that we're reaching the community that needs swimming lessons most. We also have taught that just in 2024, we've taught 84 adults how to swim, which came about because the students in our Bluefish Learn to Swim program, their parents were coming to us and saying, hey, I want to take a swim lesson too. So we said, we'll create a program for it. Let's find new ways for people to have fun in the water. We also have developed aqua fitness as an easy entry point for folks to get in the pool and have fun. We have an extremely dynamic instructor that we work with, Erwin Gonzalez, who does a program called H2 Show, and he choreographs aqua fitness to Broadway musicals, to pop music. We did a Taylor Swift Eras show. Yeah, it was pretty fun. Find new ways to review that. And we're really, really proud of the fact that our programs are all free, or in the case of Adult Learn to Swim, extremely low cost, and we always offer fee waivers if necessary. Our workforce development programs this spring, thanks to a generous grant from Amazon, we worked with Henry Street Settlement to provide free lifeguard training, where we certified 64 new lifeguards in conjunction with Splash Fit Swim Club, who did the actual training for that. We did CPR and first aid training. I myself became a certified lifeguard instructor for like the 100th time, expanding my career in aquatics even more. And also, I'm now a mini engineer because I'm going to our filtration pilot, our barge every day to record data points for analysis that we will be submitting to the Department of Health as part of our due diligence on our filtration pilot. So I've been training people how to do that too. And the community engagement that we do includes things like STEM education in schools. We have a filtration experiment where students can learn more about how the filtration process came to be. We also do a lot of river sweeps where we help steward the esplanade between Pier 35, where our site is, and Pier 17. We do that 1.5 mile walk. It's a great day. Our next one is September 14th, if anybody's interested. And we also do a lot. We participate with citizen science initiatives through the Interstate Environmental Commission, who actually does the testing on the water that we are collecting from our filtration pilot. So where are we now? This project has been an idea, a twinkle in the eye, since 2015 when we became a nonprofit. And finally, this January in 2024, the governor of New York State and the mayor of New York City came together to provide $60 million in funding for our filtration pilot. So this was huge. We were really, really excited that this happened. This was part of, as Carrie mentioned, the New York Swims Initiative. So we are now in phase 1A of the filtration pilot, where we actually have a barge, and we were able to announce, with the city's permission, we were able to announce the site of Plus Pool, which will be at Pier 35 on the East River. Really excited about that. This is in the Two Bridges neighborhood, if you're familiar. It's just north of the Manhattan Bridge. It's an environmental justice community. This is a community that we're really excited to be able to provide this amenity to. Of course, free and safe access, again, for our community members. And the other important development that we had was that we, in some ways, this is very important whether or not you ever participate in Plus Pool or go to the facility, is that we were able to change regulations that allow for public access to the waterfront. Because previously, the waters surrounding New York City were only permitted for boating and fishing. Now, this has opened up all of the waterfront of New York City to swimming. So more access is better, is good for the entire city, not just people who want to swim. And we're really saying that in the future, you'll see our rendering here. If you can just move forward. I'll close on this, which is the future of what we hope Plus Pool will look like at its completion. We're really excited. I want everyone to come swimming in it. I just talked to the Brooklyn Bridge kayakers about potentially doing a kayak polo tournament celebrate and get more volunteers. We'll have a lot of community programming because we're very excited about the pilot and we want everyone to share in our excitement. So if you're interested in, or if you have an idea for a joint program, come find me. Like I said, my job is to find new ways for people to have fun. So thank you so much. If you have any questions, I'm happy to answer them. Or you can hit me up with an email later. Hey, great, I must have done a great job.
Thank you. Hey, that was wonderful. Dawn, you ready? You're up. Staying awake, everybody. He's going to invite us.
One is yours.
Okay.
Oh, you know what?
Today, we spent a lot of time talking about pools, and those are typically things that we are swimming in indoors for the most part. Now we're talking about pools out in our river. Underscoring all of this is water, W-A-T-E. And this statement here, why swimming lessons are not enough, is because back in October, November 2012, we had this little phenomenon called Superstorm Sandy. Anybody remember that? Sure you do. And that, in the aftermath, provided an epiphany to me in that there's nobody, regardless of how well skilled you are in swimming, that is exempt from the possibility of a drown. Then I took a look at the statistics and I realized that, my gosh, they haven't changed in decades. The same miserable numbers of people drowning, time in and time out. Why is that? Because we throw swimming lessons at the problem to create the solution. And unfortunately, swimming lessons are difficult to come by. They're expensive. They're not in everybody's community. And in our lifetime, or at least I'll speak for myself, in my lifetime, there will be billions, probably trillions of more people that will never learn to swim. For whatever reason, good, bad, or indifferent, they will. So what else can we do to help people that will never learn how to swim, as well as those of us that will learn how to swim, to see our world changing around us as it relates to water? We are noticing that our tropical storms and hurricanes are coming at us stronger and with much more frequency. Also noticing that the city, with all 520 miles of waterfront, is starting to open up our natural waters in more ways than we've ever experienced it before. But many of our citizens do not have knowledge of water, nor. So again, we have danger on our waterfront, potential danger on our. So all things considered, What else can we do to provide knowledge and safety for all of us? And that started myself and 5 of my colleagues thinking about this subject called situational knowledge of water. What does that mean? It means understanding how to manage the risk of water in our daily lives. And I'm going to spend just a moment, if we go to the next slide. Well, actually, I will just point out to this slide. So this is some places where people are drowning. And many of you know these statistics. Somebody mentioned it earlier. We are seeing drowning since COVID. The drowning numbers are going up. So what used to be an average of 10 people lost every day in the US to drowning is now 11. And with that, coupled with that, 88 people suffering life-changing brain and spinal cord injuries due to water-based accidents. So we're trending in the wrong direction. Thank you. We can move on. I want to spend a moment at home, okay? We lose in the United States 400 to 500 people every year, kids, toddlers, from the age of 5 and younger. And most of those children are dying in their own homes. This should be low-hanging fruit. We should be able to eradicate these deaths. But the problem is, our parents and caretakers, while they do have an understanding of how to keep the little ones safe from electrical issues, but they know they don't want the toddler sticking their finger in the electric socket. So what do? They buy a little plastic device that you can shove into the socket, and therefore the child can't get their fingers in the socket. Easy, right? They also know they don't want the children getting into the knife drawer. So they buy a little plastic lock that prevents the door from being easily opened. We can do the same thing as it relates to water risk. It's all about providing context and content for everybody. So we are losing children, definitely most in the backyard swimming pool, and of course the bathtubs. And just today, I had 2 people in this very room say to me, we had a situation where my child was with both parents. We were at a swimming pool, and we just turned around just for a minute. And my child, nobody ever thinks that happens to them until it does. So we have those issues. It's so common for us to say, just for a minute, I'm going to answer the door, turn the tea kettle off the stove. Whatever it is, do not leave that child. Your toddler should be within arm's reach of you at all times, particularly around water. Every water could be so much fun to throw your toy in the toilet and then go and retrieve it. The heaviest part of their body. If they get upended and we don't see them, they do not have the musculature to pull themselves back in. Buckets, another problem. And toddlers love to mimic us, their family. And guess who the extended family member is? Think of your pet's large water bowl, and that pet leaning over and drinking out of the water bowl, and your toddler doing the same thing. So we can make a change here, and there is legislation. Stacy Pepper-Amato passed it in the assembly. I'm sorry, I'm forgetting the actual numbers. Maybe somebody in the room will know. But where parents of newborns will be required to see a video before they leave the hospital. It's very similar to the shaken baby video that they're now required to. So hopefully that will be coming soon, and we'll be able to really take these numbers down. Thank you. Okay, we spend a lot of time loving the beach, right? And sadly, we lost, so far as I know, 7 people on our beaches this year. It was 4 last year. And we've had a number of quick saves, thank goodness. Thanks to fall out to the PEP folks recently. But it just simply is not enough for what I used to do, which is look out the window. It's a beautiful day outside. Know it's really hot and say, I'm going to go and enjoy myself. Now I have to figure out what's going on in the Caribbean, what's happening on my beaches here in New York City. What are you talking about? The storm action in the Caribbean is what is creating the rip currents here on our beaches. We need to know that. When we get to the beach, we just can't go into the water. We need to access our lifeguards. And we need to ask them, what's going on in the water today? Because most of us are not knowledgeable to be able to read rip currents, right? Most of us are not. So we ask our lifeguard, what's happening? And our lifeguard is going to tell us. The water temperature is thus and such today. Here's what's going on with the various currents. What's going on under the surface of the water, the top, okay? Is there a sand in the area that I'm guarding? Is there a drop off? Is there a boulder? Is there a this? Is there a that? Anything that could make my day, any interest in marine life that I need to know about, right? We need to be much more mindful about water than we ever have been before. And this is just in a recreational point of view. Let's continue.
Sean, we're running out of time, so I'm sorry to interrupt you because we've got one more presenter. And it's
I'll make it quick.
yeah, if you can. Yeah, thank you.
So ice is going to be a problem for us. It never used to be because we've had thick ice, but now not only our summers are warming, so are our winters. Ice is going to be thinning. We're going to see more people dropping through the ice. They need to know how to navigate.
What's that?
Let's continue again. Continuing.
Next slide.
Oops. Okay.
Context again for water and flooding. Again, upstate, they have a context for flooding as they do ice. We do not downstate here. In the past 5 years, there have been more floods that we have experienced down here in New York City than we have in my lifetime. And this is only going to increase, not decrease. So Ida, September 21, hit us on the coast, took a right turn, and was responsible for 91 drowning deaths between Connecticut, New York, New Jersey, and Pennsylvania. 13 of those people, my neighbors in Woodside, Queens, during the race. Had they understood that when these storms are coming, you go up and not down, they would not have lost their lives. We also, by the way, have this new phenomenon called sunny day flooding, having nothing to do with super tides, king tides known to the rest of the country. That water's coming up to high tide level. It's pushing to try to go further. No place further to it to go. So where does it go? Up on our sidewalks, onto our roadways, and into our business. And then finally, as it relates to that, New York City infrastructure, sewer mains, 125 years old, cannot absorb the money. So now not only do we have to worry about what's coming up with us as well. These pictures, I think you will remember. Welcome to our new world. This is our world. Continue, please. Okay, we have a program called Know Before You Go, KNOW, Before You Go. We're already into the city schools. We've reached 51,000, almost 52,000 kids so far. If you are an educator, please advocate for us to come into your schools at cost to you to provide this programming. There are some of the topics that we hit, some of the things that I mentioned just continue, and there's some other programs. So this started out with a little PowerPoint presentation. There's now 4 programs under the Know Before You Go umbrella with the 5th one in the works. And we're on our 3rd iteration. That is how quickly this world is evolving. And we are not even at the tip of the iceberg yet. And thank you. So this is a little bit about us. 18 years young. We've taught more than 10,800 people how to swim. We've given more than $1.7 million in free swim lessons to families in New York City. Reached over 52,000 kids in the schools with Know Before You Go, and we are advocating and writing legislation primarily to help move water safety into our curriculums in the schools. And we need all of you to put your shoulder against me. Thank you so much, and I'll take any quick questions. Thank you.
Thank you, Sean. Let's escape this. Good.
And pick her up.
This one.
Finally, sorry.
Where's my
Common Point, Queens.
Hi, everyone. I am the aquatics coordinator at Common Point Queens, which is, it used to be the Samfield Y and the Central Queens Y. They combined to create Common Point Queens. We're called just Common Point now because we're trying to branch out into the other boroughs. What I'm going to talk about is just a little bit of our programming. I'm going to be so fast. I'm going to talk about all of our programming, and then I'm going to talk about what we've all been talking about, which is issues of pool time and our ability to expand our programming into other locations.
Hey, Sarah, I'm getting there.
No problem. I'll start talking. So
That would be best. Yeah.
what we have at our pool in the Central Queens location, it's a 4-lane, 25-yard pool, and we host parent and child classes for ages 0 to 4, and then our Learn to Swim classes that are from 4 to about 13 or 14. And then we have adult Learn to Swim.
That's it.
We also have a squad. So all of this is streamlined. So they go from parent-child classes to Learn to Swim to our squad, which is a pre-competitive swim team. And then they go to Aqua Flames, which is our USA Swimming Certified swim team. Yeah, so all of that there. We also have water polo classes. So we host classes at our Central Queens location and also at Bayside High School and at Jamaica High School in Jamaica Hills. And so those water polo classes happen at Bayside High School. And they're hour-long classes that teach stroke technique and all of the necessary techniques to be able to be good at water polo and learn the sport.
It says that the screen is. Oh.
Good things. So, like I was saying, our streamlining, we try to streamline and make sure that we have a program for every single goal that someone could have. Not everyone is going to go to the Olympics. It used to be my dream, it no longer is. And so things change, right? And so if an adult comes to us and just wants to not have fear going to the beach, we can do that for them. And if they want to, we have a 4-year-old who wants to try to go to the Olympics, we can do that for them as well. We serve about 1,000 kids a week in all of our programs at the 3 locations. And then we have a focus on one of our levels, level 2. It's focused specifically on water safety skills. We use Red Cross curriculum for our swim lessons. And we also focus on early exposure with our parent and child classes, just getting them acclimated to the water, getting a feel for the water at a really young age. And then this is it. I wanted to bring up something because we were talking about pool space. At our one pool, we have membership swimming because it's still kind of, why format where we have members and they come and swim laps. And then we have swim team practice, and then we have learn to swim classes. And then in the summer, we have summer camps. So the pool is extremely full and there is no space for anything. And we also have gender only times, which is something that we're really interested in because especially in Forest Hills and Central Queens, we have large communities of religious communities that are interested in women only swimming, interested in men only swimming. We're interested in having lessons that are women only and men only, girl only, boy only. It's just something that we don't have the space to do at the moment. So we're looking to branch out into other boroughs. We're looking to branch out in terms of space so that we can offer these kind of swim lessons, especially for those religious communities. We also, like we were talking about with wave makers, we are doing wave makers right now. I will say on behalf of the residents of Jackson Heights, because I've been seeing them every Wednesday for the whole summer, they want swim lessons so badly. They want their kids to learn how to swim with passion, right? They are coming to us, they're begging for swim lessons. They know the importance of it. They know that it matters and that their children are in danger. And so this is a plea from them, from me to, to myself and to all of us, that we make these communities a top priority because they really want that. And then the last thing I'll say is that we have pretty robust adaptive swim lessons. We're interested in expanding that as well. And I'm interested in just learning about more opportunities to train our staff more in terms of special needs students and the ways that, the lessons get adapted for them in the water. So I'm super interested in training, super interested in how I can help train some people for lifeguarding courses. We have a lot of adult learn to swim classes with teenagers in them who I think are ripe for the picking. So that's it.
We're almost there. Thank you so much. Any questions? Okay, so we're almost at the finish line. If the pool is not too long or too short, but we're almost at the finish line. Michael, you want to come up? Inclusive community wellness is up next. I work with Mike, and I just want to give you last year we began this. It was a dream of mine as being an athletic director, swim coach, water polo coach at St. Francis College, which no longer has athletics. Which is it's very sad, but it's one of many things that's happens all over. Crap. So we have to try to gas a little bit. But during this past year, we put this symposium together to bring our heads together to kind of figure out how we can solve some of the problems. Sean sees an issue with water safety that she can do in a classroom. Bingo. She's got a curriculum that's ready to be taken to the public schools. We'd like to see the public schools opened and have swimming part of the curriculum. I know it's a challenge for school principals, but we'd like to see that happen. It means maybe doing a double period of swimming, so the kids get changed, do the period, and then they put their clothes on, and they go back to class. It's doable. Just takes money, and it takes some people to do this. The Merca people can explain to you how they can bring almost every pool up to speed. By some of our colleagues' counts, 147 New York City DOE pools. 147 pools, not just DOE pools. You know, it's not pools. Okay, yeah, pools. That would be that's pretty outrageous. So there's opportunities. We went for a walk through Brooklyn College, and we found a pool that was 50 years old that I swam in as a child. And I said, you know, I swam in this pool, and we discovered still there. They built one pool after that, knocked it down, and built another pool after that. And the first one is still there. And these fine gentlemen said they could have it up and running in probably a month or less. So there's assets there, but we're not taking advantage of.
Well, let's just, because we'll try and tag team this. I know, hey, you guys have been a long time. So thank you for staying. There is still refreshments, which is in some cases the best part of any meeting. But there has been progress. Actually, I started with the slide of Carl and the first symposium we did. It's not an annual thing, but this is the second one, and it's 1 year later. In a week and a half ago now, right, Natalie? We went out to Long Island and saw the pool that John and Matthew were describing as well. This is what we dream of, because we know that if you give Bertha the time and the finances and the land, we can put this pool anywhere in New York City, right? I mean, well, within reason. But the limitation is twofold: land, and then who's going to pay for it, right? And so I just show you this because we've been talking about this, Carl. You've been talking about the Redwood pool since I've known you since 2012, so maybe 2013. But the point is that not only are we dreaming it now through really the great generosity of the Parks Department, 12 members, including your deputy commissioner, Commissioner Rodriguez, I think is how she goes, came out and saw this pool. Now, it's not happening next week, but we now have a footprint for what we think makes sense. Part of the reason we do this is that so you all can tell us, great idea, go crazy, go back to the 6-lane, 25-yard pool. You want to hit the next slide? I'll just talk about this. I'm going to hand it off to Carl. So one of the things that I'm really activated by is going into a community, and parents, as we discussed, right? Nora as well, Sean, when parents say to me, my kid can't swim and I can either, right? And unfortunately, in the community that I'm now operating in Midwood, 2 high school juniors passed away because they couldn't swim. That would be the 2. I think they both may have gone to Erasmus Hall High School. I'm not sure. It's unclear to me. But anyway, 2 high school football players could not swim. And so I was asked, hey, could you provide a program? And I thought, well, yeah, we'll go to Erasmus Hall, a DOE school. We put together a proposal. But this private pool in a backyard of a large complex, we negotiated to get in their pool, outdoor pool, which is always a great best thing. My point is that nonprofits are the nimble ones that can lead the way, right? That's not to say that Parks doesn't do incredible stuff. And, you know, the government doesn't, you know, obviously you guys are working overtime. But within 2 weeks, we had a program because I knew that those people were A, grieving, B, wanted to learn to swim, C, the people at the Philip Howard House has said, hey, you want to rent a pool? Can we find the money? We did. Well, sort of. We're still fundraising. But the point is that we're the ones that will be the tip of a spear. That spear can be Common Point, can be Plus Pool, it could be Sean. It could be the borough president has had one of his people here. Thank you, Donovan. So the idea is that we can lead the way. We can bring in the Murthas, right? And have them present. And then you all can absorb that information and then go back to your people and say, hey, those guys had some good ideas, or a little mashugana. There's a good word. All right, I'm going to hand off the you next. We got a couple more.
Okay, it's a tag team here, and I know people want to get out of here.
Yeah,
but it seems like I'm retired. I'm doing this because I love it. Much like the guys from Mertha, we want to see this move forward. Move forward. Yeah, like I mentioned at the beginning, there was a gentleman I was walking on the beach. He's an architect. I told him my idea, and he said that site at Beach 108th Street, Rockaway Beach Boulevard, would be perfect. It's a contaminated site. It's a Lilco. Lilco sold it to National Grid, and if we built a platform above the ground with a breezeway, we could build a pool there. And you could have it as the dream is the lifeguard center for the Rockaways. Because there are kids in the Rockaways who have to travel to high school and then go to the lifeguard training space in Chelsea and then come home after a day of school. Crazy. They have to do it for 16 weeks. So there has to be a better way. And I think it was mentioned earlier that Fort Hamilton High School had, you guys mentioned it, first time. It's brilliant.
Yeah.
It's a huge step forward. I have a young boy who's a great athlete, not a great swimmer. He has no place to swim in Rockaway. Parents were Coney Island lifeguards, did that trek from Rockaway to Malloy High School, out in Kew Gardens, into Manhattan, took the train home, and he took the final test and was 4 seconds short. He lives on the beach. They sent him to Liberty Pool. Parents said, give it a shot. He worked a year at Liberty. But you know what? They lost him.
Yeah.
They lost him. There was no follow-up to swim faster. There was no encouragement, although from his parents. And it just was impossible. So he wasn't doing work, maybe it's Parks Department, but he's working at a golf course. Those are the things that we can fix, especially in Rockaway. You've got surfers and kids that are okay, but put them in a pool. It just takes a little bit of effort to get them over the top. Just
Good. Last week, because
yeah.
this the thing you did with Gary.
Well, I was coerced by my friend here to run a water polo clinic for kids at York College. And one young man next to me was one of my former athletes, who's now the swimming coach there, and a Parks Department employee and a teacher. And we ran this clinic for, you can see, that wasn't all the kids either. There was a whole bunch of them. Kept them happy for 2 hours. The sad thing is, whenever we do these things, and I think you had mentioned you were looking for new ideas, water polo was one of them to follow up with this. You don't just want to go, here's the candy, but you can't eat. You show them a great time, but there has to be a follow. You have to work to make sure that there's something after it. Otherwise, you're going to lose them, like the kid who wanted to be a lifeguard. But is that the last slide? Okay, but let me just tell you what this guy did. But we all can do this. Not only did we get your people from Parks to go out to Eisenhower, which was amazing. It was just amazing. I met with Marty Marr, the Brooklyn Parks Commissioner, who I knew, by the way, he was a St. Francis College. But he entertained my idea. He not only did that when I said, you can build some things in existing pools like Mertha. He said, no, you can't really do it. There's all sorts of complications. And I'm sure there are. But RFEI, for off-season and deck activations at select sites citywide. Wow. There's an REI for suggestions. What would you do with McCarran Park after September? The pool. An outdoor pool.
It's outdoor pool, yes.
But and it could be any of them, but they listed a group of them, like Astoria. I mean, you can have a skateboard park. I don't think we want that. I think you can have pickleball. They're looking to use existing structures. So it's seismic that the mindset has changed. This group, the fact that we're here on Zoom, are changing the way people see things, and people are listening. So I'm a little more encouraged than I had been in the past. We do have a big lifeguard issue, and we spent a lot of time on that today. I think maybe we'll connect with Brian Clark and see if we can make some things work. And I think you guys are doing amazing after years of struggling to get people sitting and towers on beaches and opening pool. And for Michael and for everyone in this room and those people on Zoom, it's the aquatic culture, folks. It's the aquatic culture. Because if I'm not there for the kids at St. Francis, who would have been there? If that pool's not there, how do we get the next teacher? How do we get the next facilitator? Where are they going to come from? We got to excite people. Michael excited some people at Brooklyn College, who we met the athletic director, and we only got in there because they changed the athletic director. The pool was not being used, correct, Mark? For years. It was empty. A new facility, 8-lane, 25 yards. And we got the guy to open the door and let a ragtag group of people. And you know who was facilitators were? Eagle Scouts that wanted to get the Eagle badge and needed to have a project. So we had those kids facilitate a program to teach kids and their parents. But, you know, he's got the insurance, he's taking the risk. And, you know, it's not easy. In the Philip Howard Apartments, I grew up down the block, and it was hard to believe that there was actually a pool there. And again, Shirley Chisholm is opening another Parks pool right in that neighborhood. So you've got Brooklyn College, well, actually it's two pools. You've got Shirley Chisholm. There's a pool that we couldn't get into with the DOE a block away from there. It's the rags to riches. And it's going back for a moment. Think about Nassau. Nassau Community College in West Ferry out there by the National Aquatic Center. They have a 25-yard, 8-lane pool with a diving well. It's bigger than the swimming. They have a 50-meter indoor pool for the Goodwill Games that Ted Turner built back in the 90s. They have the pool that you just saw that we made the visit to outside. And Hofstra University has another indoor 50-meter pool. Yeah, I mentioned that. They're not used. They're not utilized to the max. And I love the concept of the plus pool. I love all when we meet bubbles and stuff, open stuff, so that people can start to swim. And I'll leave you on this note. I took kids to the highest level, from high school to Olympic Games. I didn't get to go to the Olympics as a kid. He deserved it. But I coached his kids. I know Mark, who's a FINA referee for waterpolo, did the Olympic Games and World Championships. Place in this city here that can host something to get me excited. And as I say this, I get goosebumps. I want to see our Olympic team or Brown University play Iona College or Fordham or someone here. When I did that at the Flushing, I had 200 little kids that we ran a clinic for between the games. It was a great day for me. It was a great day for them, but I couldn't follow it up. I mean, we gave them my card. They could maybe come to St. Francis where I was located, but there was nothing for them. Those are the things that we can do with facilitators. The other things that we did this year, and maybe stay in touch with Michael who brings out. We met Stacy Amato Pfeiffer. She gave us 2.5 hours. We sat with her. She's totally on board. She's a councilwoman. Assemblywoman. We met with the Brooklyn president, had a long conversation with them. It was amazing. The understanding that they showed toward us and us toward them were getting through. The Bertha guys and I took a trip out to Governor's Island. The harbor school wants to build a pool. The scuba. I thought, wow, this is crazy. But you know what? They're building wind farms off the coast, and they're going to need people that can swim and scuba dive to repair these things. So the whole business, and maybe they'll build a pool or they'll build a cylinder, as Matt just suggested, and they build a cylinder so they could scuba down, equalize, go down to the bottom and come back up. But there's so many ideas out there. And it just breaks my heart looking at one of my senior swimmers who used to swim in the morning, and it was like the fountain of youth. Aside from the young people, the second graders, she kept the 30 or 40 people that swam every day there alive. I hope they're still ticking. So, I mean, and then there's the people who are developing the wounded warriors. They need a spot. They need a place to feel weight, and I think that's where we all can do here as we move forward. Anything else? No, I think that's it. All right, I think that's it. Thank you all for listening. File notes, but we'll see how I can cut that out. I think we've been doing this for a while, but really, I'm so grateful for all of you that came, and Ruben, who wasn't supposed to be here the whole time. And his help, really, it's an amazing experience. And I could say you can't do without you. That is absolutely true. More to come. So please, I'll send info to you, but reach out to me and say, hey, here's something that you could be distributing, or I'll be all through this again. Not next time. All right. Thank you all. Okay.